That's all right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's time for the part of it. Don't tell anybody I helped you with your drawers. Oops.
You made it look easy.
It is easy.
Thanks, Kevin.
Anytime.
Welcome to the February 12th, 2025 Lenawee County Board of Commissioners meeting. I'd ask everyone if you would please rise, and we will have the invocation by our county clerk, Roxanne Holloway, which she will follow up with the pledge after that. And for everyone's information, including commissioners here, that corporate counsel is on Zoom with us today. So Clerk Holloway.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, as we come before you this day, we ask for your guidance and your wisdom. You are the source of all knowledge and understanding. Therefore, we seek your direction. We pray that you will give us the discernment to make the best decisions for the greater good. May our words and actions be guided by your love and grace. In your mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Clerk Holloway. Just a reminder for everyone on cell phones, hopefully you saw it on the screen, but please silence your cell phone. I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Ungst.
Here.
Commissioner Blanco. Commissioner Collins. Commissioner Daly. Commissioner Krasny.
Here.
Commissioner Martis.
Here.
Commissioner Stimson.
Here.
Commissioner Tillotson.
Here.
Commissioner Van Doren.
Here.
9 present.
Approval of the minutes of January 8th, 2025 would be in order.
There are no additions or corrections. I move they be approved as submitted.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Collins, supported by Commissioner Martis. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carry. Any amendments to the agenda?
If there are no amendments to the agenda, I would move that we accept them as printed.
Support.
A motion by Commissioner Tillotson, supported by Commissioner Martis. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Petitions and communications.
1.
Clerk Holloway.
Yep. It's a resolution from Lenawee County in support of House Bill 5430 for the expansion of the Michigan Historic Preservation Tax Credits established under the Public Act 343 of 2020. And that's all that I have.
Anybody else? Thank you. Introduction of special guests. Limited public comment for any items that are on the agenda. I did not get any forms passed up to me. Is this an agenda item? And Catherine, could state your name. address.
Catherine Suchek. I'm the Executive Director for Lenawee Community Mental Health.
Okay, and you have,
And I was here to speak on the agenda item for the Bridging the Gap Subcommittee,
pardon me?
for the opioid settlement subcommittee.
Okay,
I had an opportunity to look at the suggestion for the subcommittee. I'd just like to suggest a couple additional sectors for the commission to consider. I would recommend that you consider including CMH and including law enforcement. Law enforcement is often one of the first entities that comes in contact with somebody that's dealing with opioid issues, and has great knowledge on gaps in this community from the work that we've done with them. For CMH, we've been a leader in the community around the dealing with substance use. We are a core provider for the region, for Lenawee County. We run the Pathways Engagement Center, which is the only in-person after-hours resource for people who are struggling with substance use disorder. We coordinate the Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition. We did start the county's first opioid task force in 2017 when we were starting to see the rise in use. We conducted the county's first opioid needs assessment in 2019. And then in collaboration with a variety of partners, we've brought in over 3.9 million in grants over the past 5 years to Lenawee County to provide comprehensive prevention, treatment, and recovery support for folks. So we have a lot of experience, not only in managing grants, but also in understanding the needs and the gaps that exist in our community. We've also been very actively involved with the committee that's been working on this issue. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Resolutions and proclamations. Black History Month, we have Jeanette Hennigan from the president of the Lenawee NAACP. The proclamation will be read and presented by Commissioner Stimson. So if you'd like to step up here and join Commissioner Stimson.
But how are you? Set this right here. I'd like to present the following proclamation and resolution. Whereas Black History Month is a time-honored tradition that acknowledges and celebrates the individuality and invaluable contributions, achievements, and histories of African Americans, both in our nation and within our local community, and recognizes that ethnic and racial diversity strengthens and enriches our society as a whole. I'll turn on the mic. Okay. It'd be helpful if I got closer, maybe. Whereas Lenawee County has a proud history of honoring the significance of African Americans in our community, playing a key role in the fight against slavery, with local residents leading anti-abolition efforts and providing freedom and emancipation to enslaved individuals. And whereas recognizing the diverse heritage and cultural richness within Lenawee County deepens our collective understanding, fosters unity, and enhances our appreciation for the individuals and events that have shaped our shared histories. And this annual observance offers an opportunity for reflection on the struggles, triumphs, and lasting impact of African Americans throughout history, promoting awareness and encouraging a deeper understanding of our shared humanity. So therefore be it proclaimed that the Lenawee County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims February 2025 as Black History Month in Lenawee County, urging all residents, schools, businesses, and community organizations to join in recognizing and celebrating the contributions of African Americans to our community and our nation. During this month, we encourage educational institutions and community organizers to organize events, programs, and activities that honor the achievements and contributions, fostering a spirit of inclusion and unity. I so move.
Support. I have a motion by Commissioner Stimson, supported by Commissioner Martis. Discussion. Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Daly,
Yes.
Commissioner Krasny,
Yes.
Commissioner Martis.
Yes.
Commissioner Stimson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tillotson,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Doren,
Yes.
Commissioner Ungst.
Yes.
Commissioner Blanco.
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
yes,
9 yeas.
Resolution passes.
I just want to just quickly thank all of you for seeing the value and continuing to honor and acknowledge the Black history in Lenawee County and the United States is very important. Our story is very important to the American history. Black history is American history, and that's what we want everyone to understand. Today is important for us as well. February 12th, 1909, the NAACP was founded. So this is our Founders Day, 116 years, and we are 116 years old, the oldest and largest civil rights organization in the United States. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you. I have here with me today, this is Dion Hennigan. She's the chair of our Education Committee. And Judge Joe Costello, he is the chair of our Legal Redress Committee. Thank you.
Have a resolution on human trafficking. Laura Pippus is here with us today, the Executive Director of the United Way of Monroe and Lenawee County. And the resolution will be presented by Commissioner Krasny.
Thank you. Laura Pipus has been a friend of mine for a long time, and she's done terrific work in Monroe and Lenawee County over the years. And we're so thankful for you to join us, and thank you for all the work that you've done with regard to human trafficking and so many other important issues in our community. Human Trafficking Prevention Month proclamation. Whereas human trafficking is a severe public health issue and a crime that exploits the most vulnerable individuals, weakening the health and well-being of individuals, families, and communities across generations. And whereas it is estimated that 27.6 million people are subjected to human trafficking globally, with cases of human trafficking reported in every U.S. state and territory. And whereas human trafficking can affect anyone, though certain populations, such as those affected by abuse, violence, poverty, unstable living situations, social disconnection, or discrimination, are disproportionately at risk. And whereas human trafficking can occur in both physical and online spaces, in industries such as restaurants, domestic work, construction, agriculture, and factories, and can be perpetrated by strangers or those known to the victim, including employers, partners, and family members. And whereas human trafficking can be prevented by fostering individual, community, and societal awareness, promoting resilience, reducing social inequities, and addressing the conditions that contribute to exploitation. And whereas a successful response to human trafficking requires a coordinated, community-wide effort with the perspectives and expertise of individuals who have experienced human trafficking, playing a critical role in shaping and enhancing services and programs. And whereas every individual, family, community, and organization can contribute to the fight against human trafficking by raising awareness, prevent trafficking, and providing support through resources. Now, therefore, we, the Lenawee County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2025 as Human Trafficking Prevention Month, reaffirming our collective commitment to increasing awareness and education about human trafficking, making resources available to those impacted, and fostering partnerships to enhance our collective response to prevent and address human trafficking. I so move.
I have a motion by Commissioner Krasny, supported by Commissioner Collins. Discussion. Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Krasny.
Yes.
Commissioner Martis.
Yes.
Commissioner Stimson. Commissioner Tillotson.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Doren.
Yes.
Commissioner Unks.
Yes.
Commissioner Blanco.
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Commissioner Daly.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Resolution passes.
I just want to say thank you for this proclamation. It's a difficult subject, but it's one that we all need to be aware of. And the proclamation really did say a lot, so thank you for reading that. Just remember, it's in every county in the state, in every county in this country. And I want to recognize my co-facilitator, Sister Patricia McDonald. She's with me every step of the way in this, and actually the Adrian Dominican sisters have been doing this for about 20 years. I tell them when I grow up, I want to be just like them. Thank you.
Thanks.
We have a resolution on the American Heart Month proclamation. Barb Gillen's here and Emily Cecil, which will be presented by Commissioner Unkst.
Good afternoon. American Heart Month is this month, and I'm proud to say that Lenawee County has taken an active role in it. The employees of Lenawee County, they were wearing red last week. Still, a lot of them are wearing red today. So, American Heart Month, whereas cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death and disability globally, with over 350,000 cardiac arrests occurring outside hospitals each year in the U.S., and only 1 in 10 survive. More than 23,000 children under the age of 18 experience cardiac arrests outside of a hospital each year in the United States, and almost 40% of these are sports related. And whereas CPR, especially if performed immediately, can double or triple a person's chance of survival, and only about 46% of people who experience cardiac arrest receive CPR from people nearby while waiting for emergency responders to arrive. And whereas there are effective solutions to this problem, awareness and education to have cardiac emergency response plans in place, CPR education, automatic external defibrillator, AED training, and accessibility, and whereas knowing how to properly perform CPR has encouraged more people to act when faced with a cardiac emergency and to save more lives from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital. We must increase the number of people who respond to cardiac arrest by calling 911, delivering high-quality CPR, and using an AED as soon as it is available. And whereas the American Heart Association has set a goal of doubling the survival from cardiac arrest by 2030 by turning bystanders into lifesavers, so that everyone everywhere is prepared and empowered to become a vital link in the chain of survival and provide CPR in response to a cardiac emergency. And whereas in celebration of American Heart Month, we urge every household to join the nation of lifesavers and learn CPR. Now therefore, be it proclaimed that the Lenawee County Board of Commissioners recognize February 2025 as American Heart Month, urging all residents to show their support by increasing awareness, speaking out about heart disease, and learning CPR so we can save thousands of lives each year. I move to pass this resolution.
Motion offered by Commissioner Unks,
Support.
supported by Commissioner
Uncle.
Blanco. Sorry. Discussion. Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Martis.
Yes.
Commissioner Stimson.
Yes.
Commissioner Tillotson.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Doren.
Yes.
Commissioner Ungst.
Yes.
Commissioner Blanco.
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Commissioner Daly.
Yes.
Commissioner Krasny.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Resolution passes.
As a dietitian for the state of Michigan, I work at the Michigan Department of Corrections. I'd like to say thank you for passing this resolution. We work hard all over the state trying to help people improve their heart health. Michiganders everywhere experience these heart attacks. And if we can make more education available to more of the population and make heart awareness higher level, then we can save our friends and our families. Thank you.
Thank you. Barb is Director of Emergency Services with ProMedica, and Emily was the American Heart Association volunteers representing them. So thank you. Special presentations. Today we have a group from Housing Lenawee, a presentation to be presented by Lisa Hewitt Cruz. Welcome, Lisa. And
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, and thank you for including us on today's agenda. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Lisa Hewitt Cruz from USDA Rural Development, and with me today is Dan Swallow from the City of Tecumseh and Heather Sarnak. from the city of Morenci, and together we're going to give you some information about the community trends in relation to housing. And we are all here on behalf of our communities, representing our communities and supporting Housing Lenawee. Housing Lenawee is an initiative hosted by One Lenawee that brings together private, nonprofit, and public sector partners to collaborate towards meeting the goals of Lenawee County's target market analysis and strategic plan. And last year, we met with county commissioners, and some of you were at that event last summer, and municipalities also attended. We had a community roundtable to talk about some of the issues that they're facing, the widespread issues in our county in relation to housing. And since then, we have sent out a community survey, and today we're going to give you some of the results of that community survey and some other statistics in relation to Lenawee County. And before we do, I'd just like to thank you again for allowing us to be here. And we encourage all commissioners to meet with their municipalities within their service area to talk about the housing issues that they're being confronted with in their communities to bring more awareness to this topic. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan to go through some information.
Thank you, commissioners. And yes, thank you to those who attended our initial session back in July. And we promised you we'd come back and give you a little bit of an update. And that's what we're here to do today. A little bit delayed maybe, but there has been a lot of work going on behind the scenes. So if we could advance the slide, I want to talk a little bit about, if you haven't heard, and I can't imagine if you haven't been listening to the news, there's a housing crisis in the United States, in the state of Michigan, and in our region. And so what we want to do is really understand what that means in Lenawee County. And how it's impacting our residents, how it's impacting our economic development, how it's impacting, what I do on a daily basis, what Heather does on a daily basis down in Morenci, as well as our other municipalities. So first, I think it isn't, you can back it up just a little bit. First, I think it is important to understand, what we're dealing with in terms of numbers and what's happening in Lenawee County. So many of you may know our median income is about $67,000. With that, mortgage payment on a typical home is $1,800. And so that's, as we'll talk about these numbers, that's significant relative to income. That's bumping up against, the general rule is you don't want to spend more than about 40% of your income on housing, and that's definitely bumping up against that. We see rents increasing significantly. Two-bedroom rent in this state is actually a little old. I think that number is probably a little low, particularly for some areas of our county, but over $1,000 for a two-bedroom apartment. And our rental numbers is significant, over 20%, obviously, and growing. Why is that number growing? Well, affordability is one. People can't afford to buy a home. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And then secondarily, there are lifestyle changes. I mean, we're seeing that people don't necessarily want to own a home. And so the rental market is becoming more important to our community, particularly our senior population, as well as our young people who are moving. So we need to make sure not only we're providing for ownership, but also rental properties. Slide. So this slide, I think, tells a little bit in a graphic of what's happening in some of our housing in Lenawee County. And this is all Lenawee County data provided through MSHDA, the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. And two things that are obvious. I mean, we see that big, post-war boom of housing, but that means our housing stock, this is our entire housing stock in the Lenawee County, is getting extremely old. And there's a significant need for rehab. I know, we talk about, worrying about blight, worrying about, those other quality of life issues in Tecumseh. This is a huge issue for us, is we have these older homes and some of the owners can't afford to maintain them. So how do we assist them potentially with that, maintaining and keeping those houses? The worst case is that housing goes away. We have to tear it down, and that's an additional cost as well as a lost housing unit. The other story, of course, is on the other end of the graph. We see in post 2008-09 housing crisis, as well as, due to the COVID and the cost increases we saw during COVID, as many houses. Not only did many of the builders get out of the business after 08-09, but they got burned pretty heavily. Then they're not seeing the influx of tradespeople and others getting back into the building industry. But now with our cost increases, if you haven't heard, building materials are out of sight, and to build a new home has become significantly more expensive. So you see that lack of housing that we're building on the other end. And this is now obviously creating a shortage of housing. So slide. So the other issue we have, because there's this shortage and loss of inventory, we have decreased sales. You would think we have a shouting housing shortage, wouldn't that increase sales? Well, literally there's not the inventory out there for buyers. So we are seeing decrease in inventory, a decrease in sales, and that's just driving up price. Because obviously those that are in the market are still, seeking out that housing and driving that price up. And we've seen significant increases, particularly over the last 5 to 7 years in housing prices. So the average sales price in Lenawee County, and again, this is old data, is now $259,000. So what income do you need to buy a house in Lenawee County? Well, if you back that out, and again, using that guideline of about 40% of your income, you need over $70,000 in income to afford to buy an average, house in Lenawee County. Obviously, I just told you back in the previous slide, our median income is $67,000, so it's below that. And the average resident, this is data coming into the county that wants to purchase a home. Obviously, we're trying to attract young people, we're trying to attract new professionals. Their average income is $54,500, but they need $70,000 in order to afford an average home. So you can kind of see where the numbers problem is starting to cause us an issue and why we're seeing a problem here, right here in Lenawee County. One of the things that those of you who are in economic development, the first thing we see when we have a company coming and looking in our community, one of the first things they ask is, where are my people going to live? If I move, if I move 100, 200 people into Lenawee County, where are they going to live? Where are they going to buy a house? So this becomes an economic development problem as well, and our ability to attract companies, attract people to the county if we don't have housing available for them. So slide. So what is the end effect of this? And this is obviously with the target market analysis that the county sponsored, has given us a lot of data. Again, MISHA through their housing data has given us some information about what is a shortage, what should we be looking for in Lenawee County in going forward to try and satisfy this housing need. Right now, we have a shortage of over 1,500 rental properties. So literally we could build 1,500 rental properties, which you can imagine that if you're just building a typical apartment building, maybe that's 200-300 units at the most. We're significantly short on rental properties here in the county. For single family owned, 610. So that's literally multiple subdivisions worth of housing that we're short here in Lenawee County. So what is that causing? What are we seeing out there? Our population is decreasing because, again, we don't have the housing for them. We can't attract people, can't attract new industry to come to the county, in part, not totally, but in part because we don't have housing for those workers. Not surprisingly, we're seeing an increase in age because those who have a home are staying in their home. And so they're staying put. They're not, looking for new housing or different housing. And so we are seeing our population increase in age in part because of this housing crisis. And obviously, we talked a little bit about it already, seeing huge increases in housing values, which is okay if you own a home. But if you're looking for a home, obviously that's a huge problem. On top of, interest rates right now are causing even more significant problems with people being able to afford those homes. So that is the numbers, and we're going to talk a little about we reached out, our subcommittee is working on reaching out to our other local municipalities. Obviously, I represent Tecumseh, others Morenci, but what's happening out throughout the county in our townships and cities and villages.
So we did send out a survey following the community roundtable discussion, and we targeted those in all the municipalities, villages, townships, and cities, like Dan said, the highest elected official, the chief administrative officer, also the county commissioners, and we had about a 25% return rate. And if you want to go to the next slide, these are the questions that we asked, and mostly we had representation from the cities and townships. And then mostly elected officials and appointed officials. You can continue. All agree that there's a need for housing in their communities. Most sought after are workforce housing and multifamily units, with also a need for senior housing. And 83% did say that they see the need for housing rehabilitation in their community as well. So one of the things when you're looking at how to target the problem, there are a lot of programs out there from the state and federal level as far as grants to support these types of issues for housing rehab and for new builds. And so the question was asked of those that answered, do they have the capacity to administer these types of programs for that are available? And we had about 2/3 say that they do not have that type of capacity. Now, 2/3 also said that they had either applied for, been awarded, or are currently administering grant funding for housing programs. And then one of the things that we've talked about with Housing Lenawee is, what's a solution that could help us to, I guess, collaborate and create additional capacity for this type of work. And so we asked them if they would consider a financial partnership for a shared housing coordinator that would do this type of work in Lenawee County, and 83% said that they would. These are comments. We had a section available for people to give their input, and the need for grant writing assistance and the importance and need for the different types of housing and resources were among comments collected, as well as the discussion of a housing coordinator position and how that would be funded. And then this was not in the survey, but we did seek out commissioners' goal statements in the media, and those that are reflective of community development and economic growth. And so as a summary, they include the importance of gathering public input, creating a desirable community, valuing economic development, being good stewards of tax dollars, and striving for housing for all. Pass it back to Dan on the next slide.
All right, so obviously, I think the short answer is, the local communities don't have many of the resources they need. I joke, but it's true. Tecumseh doesn't even have a planning department, to even, we resource that out through consultants and things of that nature. So there's a lot of organizations out there that we could tap into potentially that could help address this issue. Identified many of them here. Obviously, Lisa is here already from USDA and Rural Development, and potentially there are other organizations we would like to tap into. Great Lakes Housing Solutions, State Land Bank, Lenawee Now, Community Action Agency, Habitat for Humanity, leaders in real estate and our real estate community who are seeing this problem as well, and obviously the municipalities that I represent. So how do we help pull those groups together? We're leaving a lot of money on the table, for example, in grant funds through state and federal agencies. We're leaving a lot of opportunities on the table that maybe there's a developer that's interested, but we don't have the resources to identify how they could make a development successful. So there is a need to pull that all together. One of our thoughts is that, having a quote unquote local expert in a housing coordinator would be extremely helpful, that we could pick up the phone and ask these types of questions and look at, I wanted to apply for a grant for the city of Tecumseh or even Lenawee County, but we don't have the capacity to do that. So we do think by pulling that together, and that's the goal of Housing Lenawee, is trying to build those partnerships, identify the potential for a professional or an expert in the county, and how do we fund that is some of our initial goals. And certainly we want to give that person all the opportunity for success and set them off with some of those partnerships already established, and try and make sure that they're successful in the goal if we're able to secure this position. So those are some of our goals we've been looking at, and obviously one of the challenges how to fund that. Obviously you saw that it looks like the local municipalities are willing to help fund that. We've been looking at private resources, working with the Community Foundation on some resources. They've actually provided some seed money for Housing Lenawee, as well as, if we're able to secure some of these grant funds, there's an opportunity there for administration fees that are allowed through there. So there's kind of a three-leg stool, if you will, that we're looking at funding for this housing coordinator position. At some point, we'd also like to approach the county on what resources the county may be able to provide as well. So I think that's about it, right?
Any questions?
Questions that you may have?
Questions?
Not a question, but a comment. In my previous life, I've always lived in Lenawee County, but I worked in Ann Arbor for 12 years, and I am a certified financial counselor. And we created I think it was 07, 08, a foreclosure task force, prevention task force. It was exactly what you guys were talking about. There were private donors, there were like U of M, the university, the Housing Bureau for Seniors, and Step Forward, Michigan, the state, and they collaborated all together to create this task force. I think it's a great idea.
There's some definite statewide, there's some great examples. One example we've been studying is Housing North. As you can imagine, Traverse City has a huge housing problem with the values up there. And so they've collaborated together. They actually have a multi-county program. And they have hired, housing coordinators to help work with local communities, and it's been quite successful, but they also were able to secure some early private funding, as well as now they actually charge fees to local municipalities to conduct some of their work. So it definitely works, and we're hoping it will work in Lenawee County.
Yes.
Other questions? Commissioner Krasny.
No, thank you all for working on this and your team that you have built. It's been an issue that we've been talking about for a long time. I think it's a very difficult issue, an issue that we have to address. But I think the solutions are going to be very difficult as well. Geographically, we're a little different than the up north program, et cetera, where we have competing communities within a short distance from us. We have Monroe, Bedford, Toledo, even Jackson a little bit, and Saline, Manchester, et cetera, that we have to compete with. So we need to work on this problem because it is an issue. And with economic development, it is kind of a chicken or the egg situation of what comes first, but we need both of them. But how do we get there? So thank you for your work on this and your team's work on this.
Any others? So Dan, Heather, Lisa, if the commission addressed you and said, okay, just drill down on this whole thing and tell us the top 2 items that Lenawee County could do to help support this. What would be, besides money? Let's leave money off the table right now. Okay, so it's always money. Money will take care of everything, right? So
Right. So I think the key is just the recognition, number one, from the county commission that, this is something that is a priority and housing is a priority in the county, would be helpful and, give some merit, to this a little bit more than maybe just the volunteer group working on this. So that would be potentially one, as well as, I do think there's services and, certainly existing staff, existing services at the county that we would love to see, participate more and to collaborate maybe potentially more with this housing issue because it impacts, other aspects of people's lives. And certainly when they're dealing with somebody that may have another concern at another county agency, housing may be a key component of that as well. So I think there's definitely some resources that are existing already that the county could help participate and provide, even if it's not, new money, so to speak, existing resources.
okay. Anybody else? Well, thank you very much, and we'll put this on our drawing board and see what we can come up with for you. Approval of the consent agenda would be in order. Support. I have a motion by Commissioner Stimson, supported by Commissioner Martis. I wasn't sure we were going to get this through today, but discussion. Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Stimson, Commissioner Tillotson.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Doren.
Yes.
Commissioner Ungst.
Yes.
Commissioner Blanco.
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Commissioner Daly.
Yes.
Commissioner Krasny.
Yes.
Commissioner Martis.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Motion passes. We're going to standing committee reports, accounts payable, Commissioner Martis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is my first report, so be patient with me, but we reviewed expenditures totaling $3,249,000 and change for 1/9/123 and 2/6/2025. I move that we approve these as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Martis. Who supported that? Supported by Commissioner Collins. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Criminal Justice, Commissioner Collins.
Criminal Justice met on the 6th of this month. The sheriff outlined his agenda for establishing new goals and objectives for the department. Emergency management is doing a tabletop exercise for an emergency situation. Medical examiner looking for a new investigator in definite need of one. some discussion about Marie Spear campus, and a great deal of discussion on the brain health program, which we were given a presentation for yesterday.
Questions for Commissioner Collins? Thank you, Terry. IT and Equalization, Commissioner Krasny.
IT Equalization Committee met Thursday, February 6th with Commissioner Collins and Commissioner Tillotson, myself and Chairman Van Dorn present. We went over a few things. Director Ben Ricker discussed the IT project, the judicial building, the security cameras, and the third floor have been completed and will be installed on the second and first floors. Communications Coordinator Jennifer Ambrose brought us up to speed on our continued growth when it comes to our social media following and our website clicks. On the website, there's an average view time of 3.5 minutes. So she's been doing a great job with that. And that was, we discussed the new laptops, the mobile data terminal upgrades, which are the laptops in our patrol vehicles with the Sheriff Department. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Commissioner Krasny? Thank you, Dustin. Personnel, Ways and Means, Commissioner Martis.
We met yesterday, of course. Much of the discussion was based on the brain health matter. I think all our items there were on the consent agenda.
Okay, questions? Thank you, Kevin. Policies and Procedures, Commissioner Collins.
Policy and Procedure met on the 3rd of this month. There was it was a rather quick meeting because all the members on the committee were new. So it was kind of an update where we have been and where we need to go. The previous committee had done a yeoman's job in updating most of the previous policies. We have about half a dozen, I believe, more that we'll be working on.
And we have 3 coming forward today
Correct.
for annual investment policy, FOIA policy, and earned sick time policy.
Yes, that's correct.
That'll,
Okay, I will move it to be accepted.
okay, thank you.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Collins, supported by Commissioner Martis. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Any other questions? Thank you, Terry. Physical Resources, Commissioner Krasny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Physical Resources met Thursday, February 6th as well with Commissioner Tillotson, Commissioner Blanco, and Chairman Van Dorn, myself present. We had a lengthy discussion of Kubota versus John Deere purchases for the maintenance facility. There was very lively debate with regard to that. I stayed out of it.
Who won?
Ralph always wins. Kind of. So moving along, we had a great report from the Drain Commissioner, who's been very busy. Marie Spears campus, just so the public knows, had some water issues with regard to that immense cold spell that we had. Freeze some drain pipes and other things like that. So our team got out there, maintenance division, and got that squared away and improved. So that was good. We also got a great report from our emergency coordinator, Craig Tanis, with regard to emergency operations and center restructure. So that was really productive meeting. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Commissioner Krasny? Thank you, Dustin. Board appointments, Ag Advisory use is in recess, right? Ralph? Ag Advisory, recess.
No report there. For you people that don't attend all the commission meetings, they're kind of in limbo right now. So there's nothing to report.
Thank you, Commissioner Tillotson. Airport Commissioner Collins.
Airport met the first Monday of the month. The gentleman, Jared Kowalewski from Eden Hunt, can have an update on the grant project for the airport. Replacing lights at the end of the runway as they are in sad need of repair. In fact, beyond repair, they're needed for replacement now. There was several phases talking about the approach problem we're dealing with and a description of maintenance. That was it.
Questions for Commissioner Collins? Thank you, Terry. Community Action Agency, Commissioner Stimson.
meeting, most of which dealt with some difficulties with the federal government's policy changes, ons and offs as it relates to getting things paid. What most people don't know is that the already approved federal fundings that where they draw down for about 500 employees on their grants, their access was closed for their payroll cycle. So they had to go to a private lender to get financing even over that day because it happened to be the day they have to draw down those dollars to get short-term financing. So it costs those programs quite a bit in just interest in setting up those aspects. So a lot of that was the headache. A lot of unclear forward paths moving forward with their federal fundings.
Questions for Commissioner Stimson? Thank you, Dave. It's unfortunate going on. Also, we learned at MAC this month that 41% of the state's budget is from the federal government grants.
Yeah.
So I think we can all hold on to what's going to happen here in the future. Maybe a lot of interest payments. Community mental health, Commissioner Stimson.
I wasn't able to attend the community mental health meeting this last month.
Anybody? Okay. County Planning Commission, Commissioner Blanco.
It meets for the first time this month, and so I don't have a report at this time, but I will next month.
Okay, look forward to it. Thank you. Department on Aging, Commissioner Collins.
Department of Aging met in these chambers on the 22nd of January. It was a rather quick meeting. All of these members have somewhat of a senior status in life and working in these chambers as opposed to where they had been at the Human Service Building. Was a bit difficult for them. So we spent a lot of time showing them how to work the microphones, how to get their done. They are beginning a third-year budget plan program, and first quarter is done at 19% expense. That was about it.
Questions for Commissioner Collins? Secretary, Department of Health, Human Services, and Medical Care Facility, Commissioner Tillotson.
We met Monday. Our normal meeting is on Wednesday, but because of people that were not available for this month, they moved it up a little, but normally it meets on Wednesday, the second Wednesday. So it's a kind of a two-stage meetings. First meeting that I have attended, they gave their reports. Everything seems to be in order. That's it.
Questions for Commissioner Tillotson? Thank you, Ralph. Emergency 911 District Board, Commissioner Collins.
Emergency 911 met on January 9th. These chambers, they reported that for the first time in a while, they were at full staff. I always say that with a short breath because that can change in a day. But the administrative report was getting on all the meetings attended. They told us that the CAD system, the mutual CAD system up and fully running. That was about it.
Questions for Commissioner Collins? Continuing on, Commissioner Collins with the Health Board.
Health Board did not meet.
And Homeland Security and Local Emergency Planning, Commissioner Collins.
Homeland Security meets this month. They meet every other month. This was the month they meet, so they did not meet.
Land Bank, Commissioner Collins.
I was unable to attend that meeting because that.
Lenawee Public Transportation, Commissioner Tillotson.
We met on the Thursday, and everything seems to be going along pretty good. I was busy this morning getting my car serviced, so it got kind of to a point where we didn't have any time to stop the house and pick up some numbers, but I try to have numbers next month for the Transportation Authority. But it's grown quite a lot and doing quite well.
Good. Questions for Commissioner Tillotson? Thank you, Ralph. MAC, Michigan Association of Counties, I'll report out. Administrator advised me that she was busy that day, couldn't make it, and so I was in attendance. We reelected, or Bob Showers as continuing as our chair for government committee on local governments and state government. There are 5 committees at MAC, Finance and General Government, which the administrator and I sit on. Judiciary and Public Safety, Health and Human Services, Transportation and Infrastructure, and then Environmental and Tourism. The old Ag Committee was merged with Environmental and Tourism, and each one of those have to meet at least 6 times a year. There was a big conversation about lame duck session, how pitiful it was, and it's the worst they've ever seen the state of Michigan managed during the lame duck session. They would not take up revenue sharing. Most of the time was spent trying to get a quorum in the House of Representatives in order to get legislation through, which they could not do because one Democratic member kept walking out with the Republicans, so they didn't have a quorum, and so not much really happened. So new legislation that's up for this session that's carried over is currently the sick time, 72 hours paid leaves, and the tips. There are taxing the tips is part of what they're working on. So I think the biggest part, there's a number of other things in here, but the biggest part that came in is this is very interesting. House Resolution 19 on House rules, the House rules in the state of Michigan. So House rules are what the House or the Senate have to go by in their rules as passed by their membership. It does not have to be voted on by the Senate or the governor or anybody else. It's just their organization. And they established House Rule 19 on earmarks in the state of Michigan. And the House rule reads that anybody that's applying for an earmark will have to have a certified resolution from the chairman of the board of the county certifying that we meet all the federal standards of immigration. Now, quite frankly, maybe somebody can enlighten me here, but I have no control over the sheriff. I have no control over the city police, township police. I don't know how we're going to certify that, how I'm going to certify that. So I don't know. Hopefully we get a resolution to this. Otherwise, there's going to be very limited, if any, earmarks for Lenawee County. Because I don't know who's going to certify this. I'm certainly not going to certify it. So, but they are voting on it this month, and so it very possibly is going to become a House rule because, as you know, the House is controlled by the Republic session, which majority, which currently backs immigration 100%. So, questions? Well, sorry about that very positive report. So, MAC Judiciary and Public Safety. Hopefully, you got something more pleasant for us, Assistant Administrator Elliott.
Unfortunately, I too had a conflict in my schedule and was unable to attend.
Okay, we'll look forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you. Marie Spear Campus, Commissioner Collins.
Marie Spear Campus met on the 5th of February. Campus, the new project out there is approximately 40% done right now and gearing up a little quicker now because they have all base in and stuff. To echo what Commissioner Krasny said, there was a significant leak in the roof of the ad building, and apparently a plug in the roof that allows it to drain out, plugged up. The water kept backing up. And finally went through the roof, flooded virtually the entire admin area. So they're running crazy now, trying to get everything done out there to get that straightened up. The Department of Aging, by the way, brought meals out for the kids because they couldn't run the kitchen out there at the time. Population was 23 residents, 15 of which were from out county. And they're now looking for some new board members. That's about it.
Questions for Commissioner Collins? Thank you, Terry. Parks Commissioner Commission, Commissioner Tillotson.
Parks did not meet this month. They're going to meet last month. They will meet this month. They generally meet on the third Monday, which is President's Day. So it's going to meet on Tuesday, 11 o'clock.
Questions? Thank you, Commissioner Tillotson. Region 2 Planning, Commissioner Tillotson. I don't think there's a meeting, right, next month?
No.
Okay. Solid Waste, Commissioner Stimson.
Solid Waste met on the 5th of February, both Solid Waste and Materials Management. I elected a new chair, went through some of the totals for the last year about what they did or didn't go into landfills and the numbers for recycling. And then had a presentation by an organic individual. And what I mean by organics would be like restaurant waste and things of that nature, a way of keeping it out of the landfill and reusing them, which I think is going to be adopted, or at least was proposed to be adopted at the Tecumseh Farmers Market. That was pretty much solid waste.
Questions for Commissioner Stimson? Thank you, Dave. Substance Abuse Disorders, Commissioner Tillotson.
They are supposed to meet tonight, but because of the weather, they canceled yesterday. And so next month, maybe.
Okay. We'll look forward to hearing from you. Liaison reports, Michigan Township Association, Commissioner Unst, which will be handled by Commissioner Martis, right?
Yeah, Commissioner Ongst initially was going to be the liaison to MTA, but he has a perpetual conflict with, was it the Chiefs?
My fire board.
Fire board meets on that same date. So Commissioner Blanco is going to serve in that role, but I will be attending with her. I think we meet this coming Monday, and then we'll report after that.
Very good. Thank you. Questions? Road Commission, Commissioner Martis?
Yes, I met with them second Thursday, let me see, last week. And of course, the discussion in general was about the countywide meeting that they had, the road commission put on for all the townships, particularly the new elected officials. We met in the Raisin Township hall that they have there. Commissioner Van Dorn and I attended. It was well attended, a lot of people there. Food was furnished through Basil Boys, and the road commission just did a class act presentation so that folks really understand how the roads work, how the funding works, everything. And we made it clear, Jim and I did several times, that even though the state law provides for us to take the road commission back here if we so choose, there's not a chance in the world we would ever do that. So that was the report there.
And for anybody in the future, when they have these, I mean, Kevin and I even learned some things even after being here in the county for a while and being involved in that. It was an excellent, excellent program that they put on with a lot of good information. So if they have another one in the future, I would encourage commissioners to attend on the work of the road commission. Unfinished, oh, no, excuse me. Veterans Affairs, Commissioner Collins.
Veterans Affairs met on January 10th. There was a quick report out on all the meetings that the people out there attend, and there are a ton of them. And I report on veterans burials, report on the VFA fund, which is a fund that helps veterans with certain problems that they have with bills and so forth. But there were no applications for neither the VRF or PRF, so there was none given.
Questions for Commissioner Collins? Thank you, Terry. Unfinished business. Hearing none. New business, bridging gap with the opioids subcommittee. Administrator Murphy.
As a result of the last subcommittee that was prepared, which was the Recovery Housing Committee, there's a recommendation that a new subcommittee be put together to look at all of the 8 different categories of funding that the opioids are eligible to be spent on. After looking through all of that, we did have a comment earlier about the committee members that are being recommended here. I will indicate that we are going to be going through an application process. So an RFP document along with the rules, the scoring mechanisms, the application itself is being produced that'll be sent out so that any of the agencies that are interested in applying for this opioid funding can do so.
Those will be brought back into our office and then divided by category. And as the subcommittee meets each month, they will be reviewing the applications that came in for those categories. And those applicant members would also be encouraged to attend and present on their application. So the subcommittee is able to understand, ask questions, and then they will actually score those presentations on the criteria set forth so that as they go through all applications, they can later on come back, review the scoring mechanisms, and be able to make recommendations to the full Board of Commissioners. This is going to be a long process. We don't expect recommendations to come back to the Board of Commissioners until the early part of 2026. The reason that there were two agencies that were mentioned earlier, why are they not being recommended as being part of the committee members? And that is because through discussions, we found that a number of the agencies that fall into those two categories may be applying for funding themselves through programs that they have or something that they have going on. And we did not think that it would be appropriate to have agencies that are applying for funding to also be on a board recommending the funding to the full Board of Commissioners. Now, we would encourage any of the agencies that fall into those categories to attend the meeting and be able to offer up expert advice, answer questions that might be out there that would fall into those particular categories. But in order to keep things transparent for the public and for the committee and the recommendation moving up to the full board, it was recommended, or we are recommending, that those that are going to be applying for funding not be part of the potential voting membership. So as we are looking at this, we brought this forward. We thought it would be good to establish a mission for the committee that is going to be created. And I'll just, for the public, read this right here. The mission would be to receive, review, score, and recommend to the full Board of Commissioners applications from organizations or groups addressing opioid prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and recovery through the development, implementation, and enhancement or expansion of evidence-based strategies or promising practices to prevent and address the adverse impacts of the drug overdose epidemic. That's a big mission statement, a lot of words in there, but they will dissect that as they go through the different applications that come through. The committee members being set forth fall into very specific categories, which are applicable to the state's definition when we go through the rules that have been laid out for opioid expenditures. The first person on this list is Judge Todd Morgan. He serves as a district court judge and fills a governmental sector role. Monica Hunt is our health officer, and she fills the role of public health. Sarah Palmini is the office manager for the Tri-County, if you will, regional. We're not regional yet, but she works as the medical examiner coroner position, representing Hillsdale, Lenawee, and Jackson counties. Gary Clift is a community member. Laura, I'm sorry, is it Pipus or Pippus? Okay, I heard it both ways today, so I want to make sure I say it appropriately. Laura Pipus, Director, United Way for both communities of Monroe and Lenawee, and she serves in the sector of community impact and advocate. Terry Collins will be serving as an individual and as a parent of a loved one with substance use disorder. And Commissioner Jim Van Doren is the board chairman and also serves in the governmental sector. So that is the committee members that are being set forth at this time.
So with that, and we'll be happy to hear from you, Catherine, and the sheriff in just a minute, but with that, a motion would be in order to approve the subcommittee for the opioid program.
So support.
Okay, I have a motion by, who was it? Oh, Tillison, supported by Commissioner Martis. So discussion. Under discussion, I yield Catherine or Sheriff, have you got a minute? Are you going to be, I take it you'll be applying for these, right? For funding?
I will be applying for funding through this, the opioid settlement money, yes.
So will that work for you, having you come to the meetings but not being a voting member? So, because we don't want any conflict. We went through each one of these, and the ones that are on it are not going to be applying.
I do understand that. don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand it. I think that law enforcement should have a voice at this because of the extreme impact that the opioid crisis has had on law enforcement, and all of the law enforcement that goes out every day and faces this, this crisis. I think that law enforcement has been there and through this all, and I think that they should have a voice on this committee.
Okay. Commissioner Stimson?
And no offense to Troy, but frankly, we set Troy's budget. Troy doesn't have a whole lot of say in, other than his advocating for what's necessary. So the control of the money that he would expend comes here. So whatever conflict he would have in applying would be our conflict. So I'm a little confused of how that goes on to the sheriff's department. He's not a different entity. He's part of the county, and there's multiple county members serving on this board anyway. So I wasn't part of these conversations. I am not privy to any of the discussions. I get the thought process that if you're going to be delivering services under the grant, under an SUD, you don't want to be part of the decision-making of that grant. I appreciate that. I understand that. While I don't always agree with it as well, Troy, I understand it, but the sheriff's department's already rampantly addressed through here by other county members. So that's my concern with that one.
And to speak to that as well, I will be coming forward with a application for medically assisted treatment in the jail.
Yeah.
I think that that's extremely important, and I think these funds will definitely fit that category. That treatment is going to happen one way or the other, whether we pay for it out of opioid settlement money or pay for it out of different money. So in essence, you will be deciding on that one way or the other. So that's kind of my take on it. And I like to have a voice because I think that it's important to speak, from the perspective of law enforcement and the jail. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Catherine?
At this time, we aren't planning to apply for any of the money. We just have extensive knowledge of the need in the community. We see where the gaps are, and a variety of places, not simply the services that we provide. We receive funding through our region for Medicaid, for grant funding. So we've already got the funding that we need at this time to cover treatment and even prevention. So we weren't intending to apply for any of the funding as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Thank you.
That comes back to, if I might, that would come back to my exact kind of question. If there isn't a conflict, why would we not have the largest deliverer of substance abuse disorder treatment in the county not at the table? I mean, as long as they are agreeing not to apply for funding and would be eligible for it, as long as they're on the board, I would think that they should be on this committee. And I think Gary was here. No offense to Gary, but they have a lot more knowledge on the topic than a random community member would. Again, I'm a little confused on that makeup.
I think those are all good points, Commissioner Stimson, and there's a way to adjust that in the committee appointments, and hopefully if we adjust it, there happens to be two people here that want to do it, and we'd need two people because we want to keep it at an odd number. So if somebody would like to change that, they could offer an amendment.
Well, that comes back to the sectors, I think, Mr. Chairman. Like, these sectors were developed, I presume, as a result of stringent guidelines associated with how we're to expend opioid settlement money. I mean, I read through the settlement requirements that we got just this last week from some of the big pharma as they're coming through from the law firm that, frankly, a decade ago, Kim and I pushed hard for us to sign up with them so that we'd receive these funds. They have very, very strict requirements as to what those settlements have to be used for. So I think maybe more importantly, you just need to go back and review whether the sectors make sense, whether those sectors would be cross-populated, maybe CMH fits in there somehow. That seems to be a more prudent course than just adding an amendment to a motion for the first time I've ever seen something under new business.
Okay.
Would it make sense to maybe put this over a month, have the minister's office revisit some of those sectors and perhaps suggest, and not to make him do more work, I'm sorry, but
We currently have a motion on the floor. Commissioner Krasny.
Yeah, I just, for the folks viewing at home, and the comment was made that Gary Clift is a random person in the community. He is a esteemed person with great knowledge on this topic and others. So just for a point of clarification, that's why I believe Chairman Van Dorn or the administrator put him on this task force.
There was no sign intended to Gary. I know.
I know, I'm
Fine.
just clarifying. There's a lot of people watching that don't know who these
No.
people are.
Any other discussion?
So I'm going to make a motion to table the matter to a specific date of next board meetings date, whatever date that happens to be, in order to allow the administrator's office to review whether we should have an SUD person on there. So that would be a motion I would make.
We all know a motion to postpone takes precedent. I have a motion to postpone as our support. I have support by Commissioner Tillotson. I don't think it's debatable, so.
I don't know.
Is there any discussion? Let's see if there is any. Okay, if not, we'll vote. This is a motion to postpone until the next commission meeting.
Roll.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Tillotson,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Doren,
Yes.
Commissioner Ungst,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanco,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Daly,
Yes.
Commissioner Krasny,
Yes.
Commissioner Martis.
Yes.
Commissioner Stimson.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Okay, we'll come back next month. Good, take another run at this. Thank you, everyone. Great discussion. Public or scholarship fund. For the new commissioners and for those that are here in the past, as you know, we have a youth scholarship that we offer through the Lenawee County Education Foundation. And we take donations from the commissioners. And this year it would be, if we decide to do that, $110 per commissioner so that we can give a $1,000 scholarship away. So I would be hopeful that everyone jumps in and donates. This is not county money. This is commissioner money. So it's just a reminder. And on May 11th, 2025, assuming that we're going to collect the funds in order to give a scholarship, I need a person to volunteer to be at Adrian College Dawson Auditorium at 2 p.m. To present it on behalf of the commission. And Commissioner Blanco would be happy to do that, and we'd be happy to have you do that. So, anybody like to join her? Okay, Administrator Murphy.
The only thing I would add is typically we have 2 or 3 commissioners appointed as a review committee that review all of those applications, and then someone from that review committee, Commissioner Blanco, would then go and make that presentation on behalf of the full Board of Commissioners. So you may want to consider a couple other people too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Martis to the review panel.
He was on it last year. Okay, Commissioner Martis, you'll accept, right? Thank you. And anybody else like to? We have 2. We'll take 3.
I think Commissioner Ongst would do a great job.
Okay.
I will warn you that the problem is when you read all these applications, you fall in love with every kid and you want to give them all the money that you
I've
can.
been there.
So.
Right. Okay, any other new business? I have just a couple reminders, not so much new business, but reminders. As you know, you all have the rules that you'll be looking at for next month that we're bringing forward. So I just want to highlight a couple of them that over the period of years, sometimes we have trouble with getting those right. So 2.20 is absent of quorum of the chair. The chairman of the board may appoint a commissioner for the day or vote for that person's absence. So we've had some question about that in the past of who makes that appointment, but it's the board chair. If the board chair isn't there, then it's the committee chair that makes that appointment. That's 2.20. So you may want to review that when you're looking at it. On 4.54, new commissioners, you can attend up to 6 other meetings, I believe it is 454. 6 additional meetings so that you have the opportunity to see how all of the committees function. So Just be aware of that. That's 4.54. And then on 4.54, we're also going to make sure that we enforce this year because it got out of hand last year. So if your expense reports are not filed within 30 days from the end of the month, they will have to come to the Board of Commissioners to be approved in the future. Okay, there won't be, and then the chairman won't be doing that. He'll be going back to the rule and bringing it in here. So Commissioner Martis.
First of all, guilty as charged. Second of all, I would point out that what you maybe didn't make clear about new commissioners being able to visit these other meetings. First of all, you're allowed or permitted to come to any subcommittee whenever you want, but these permit reimbursement per diem and mileage for up to 6 apparently.
Yeah, thank you.
In addition to the committees you're already on.
Yeah, thank you for that. And as you read through the rules, I think you'll see that, but thank you. That's a good point. So, and then finally, Rule 610, and it says very specifically in there that this will be enforced, is that please remember you're to be recognized by the chair before and have the chair acknowledge you before you start speaking. So just want to remind you, there's other rules in there you may want to look at too, but those are a few that we've had problems with in the past. So, and I apologize if there's ringing in the thing for my hearing aids. I'm getting new hearing aids, so hopefully it'll get taken care of. So any other new business? Public comment? Any public comment? Commissioner comments? Commissioner Martis?
Just briefly, I appreciate the two folks coming forward, and having the question about how we're handling the opioid stuff. And we certainly respect and honor the hard work both those groups and the folks and the entities they represent are doing for the county.
Very good. I agree. Any other commissioner comments? Announcements? Motion to adjourn before it starts snowing? I have a motion by Commissioner Martis, supported by Commissioner Collins. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Commissioners adjourned. Thank you.